For many entrepreneurs, the journey does not begin with a business plan. It begins with a problem, a setback, or sometimes a job they never imagined would shape the rest of their career. Welcome, or hopefully welcome back to The Reluctant Entrepreneur. My guest today, Vance Morris, has taken one of the more unusual paths into entrepreneurship. He went from working as a security guard in a birth control factory to a decade in Disney management, to bankruptcy, to building a successful brick-and-mortar service business, and then helping other business owners create better customer experiences. Vance is known for taking lessons from Disney and translating them into practical systems that small businesses can actually use. Not theory, not magic, systems. And we'll talk about the magic and the systems when I return in just a moment. Stick around. Vance Morris, welcome to the show. I'm so happy you're my guest today. Looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks, Mike. That was an awesome introduction. I don't think I could have written that any better.
Thanks. I'll take that as a compliment, particularly someone that's come from Disney, right? So, you're the second guest out of 80 or 90 or so guests that I've had the privilege of speaking with that kind of base the foundation of their business off of a specific company's either formula or reputation. Or you
Sure.
obviously share a lot now with Disney in terms of how you built your new business. I also interviewed a business founder who based everything off of shareholder letters written by Jeff Bezos. His book is called The Bezos Letters. And he's read every shareholder letter that Bezos has put out, and I guess unlike other CEOs, he actually writes his shareholder letters as opposed to the legal team and marketing team, and
Right.
And he's built a business and written a book on that same philosophy, translated into what it means. So it's interesting that why reinvent something? Look at something that works. My wife used to work at a bank, and I'm kind of going on a diatribe here, but just to frame it. My wife used to work for a bank and many, many years ago, and she was a regional manager. She had several branches under her, and she would, when they were on a hiring spree for tellers and bank managers and positions like that, they would go to Disneyland. We're in Southern California. So they'd go to Disneyland with business cards in their pocket, pay the admission, not go on rides, and just hand out cards because their employees were well known to be well-trained, customer-oriented. They'd also go to Nordstrom for the same reason, because they're, at least at that time anyway, their employees were pre-trained. They were the best of the best, and they knew how to treat customers well. So the philosophy makes sense. Take what is working and has worked for generations and apply that can be applied to a business. But before we drop down that rabbit hole that I just opened up, let's kind of start at the beginning. You've gone from being a security guard in a birth control factory to bankruptcy and ultimately entrepreneurship. Let's rewind the clock and walk me through that particular journey. Just kind of give me a concise version of that Vance Morris story.
Sure thing. Well, the birth control factory thing is real. It was a summer and winter break job while I was in college. And I use it because it gets people to stop. And they're like, what did he just say?
Yeah, I had to read it twice when I was writing my notes. I'm like, wait a minute. Was it okay? And then all sorts of like really bad jokes came in my head. And
I have plenty of them. But, it's instructive in that, when you look at your marketing and you look at all of the other commoditized businesses that are out there, you need a showstopper. You need something that's going to stop people in their tracks and say, wait, what? And then they'll pay attention from that point on. So if you don't have that pattern interrupt, I'm not saying to invent this, but something from your past or something from what you're doing, If you can use that as a kind of a wait what moment, they're highly effective. So I did. After that, I spent a number of years in restaurants up in Western Massachusetts, which is nothing going on in Western Massachusetts. I can tell you that right now. So a buddy of mine that I went to college with was a recruiter for Disney. So I called him up. I think I have the shortest interview ever of any Disney employee. And that was, hey, I'm looking for something new. He goes, great, come on down. And that was the extent of the interview process with the Disney company for me.
Wow.
And that led into 10 years of working there. I am living proof that you can leave that company and not curl up into the fetal position and die. I actually survived leaving the company. Worked for a couple other larger hospitality groups. Along the way, realized I make a lousy employee. I just don't like to be told what to do, especially by people that don't know what to do themselves. So that prompted me, well, actually, I take it back. Getting fired twice is what prompted me to start looking at doing my own thing. And so that's how I got into this entrepreneurial mess. I've been doing it now for almost 20 years.
You know, I've talked many times on this show with my guests about how entrepreneurs make terrible employees. We can certainly never go back because once the genie's out of the bottle, once the toothpaste is out of the tube, ain't going back. And
I am so unemployable.
oh yeah, me too. I'd be fired the first day, maybe probably the first 10 minutes because A, we don't do stupid, right? We're not necessarily very PC unless that furthers the cause of the business. We just don't put up with crap, and we can be bulls in china shops. You know, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and even if people are in the way of that straight line, we just plow through it. We get an idea, we pit bull jaw into it, and don't let it go, and that doesn't always fit well in a corporate environment. You talked about you spent a decade working at Disney, and you did manage to escape with your life. There is, what we call that, LAD, Life After Disney. What did Disney teach you about leadership systems and customer experience that stayed with you after you left?
Yeah, certainly. So, one of the big things that I learned from my time at Disney, and it started literally from day one, is that Disney runs on processes and systems. It is a very systems-oriented company, and that's how they consistently deliver great experiences to their guests on a constant basis, day in and day out. So I didn't, everybody said, oh, did you learn how to pick up trash and be nice to people and do all these wonderful things? I said, yeah, those were all things that came, with time. But it was the fact that we had processes and systems for everything. So on my first day, we were opening up the Yacht and Beach Club Resort, which was like 1990-ish. And we went into the training room, and this was before phones and all that stuff. And the training room was just stacks and stacks of 3-ring binders. I mean, and they were thick things. And I asked my boss, I said, what's all this? He goes, well, these are all the OJTs and SOPs for how to open and operate a Disney resort. And I mean, the bus boys had a binder, the valets had a binder, the housekeeper, everybody had a binder. And it was the playbook. And so that's really the big thing that I took everywhere I went, because as an entrepreneur, systems give you freedom. Okay, we talked a little bit before we recorded, that we kind of stay away from our businesses right now because we would probably screw things up, and they run better without us there. And so I, for the last 8 years, have been an owner, not an operator, of 3 home service businesses here in Maryland. And I credit that to the systems that I put into place: the marketing system, the operations system, the customer getting system, customer retention system, whatever it was. And when I hired the general manager, all I had to do was tell him, hey, don't screw with anything, just manage the systems. And that's worked. And so for about I guess I could have gone off and just, drank beer and eat bonbons on the beach or something, but I'm a little more active than that. But systems was the number one thing.
Interesting. Now, you've been very open about going through bankruptcy and having to rebuild. What happened during that season of your life, and what did it teach you about resilience?
Yeah, I mean, if I could rename myself, my middle name would be Tenacity or Tenacious or what have you.
Vance Tenacious Morris. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
That's not bad, huh?
Not bad. Kind of has
It's
a,
better
has a
than
ring
Gregory, I'll tell you that. um, so, I'd gotten fired the second time, and they had done it improperly. So I think I'm one of the few people that got fired and got like a 6-month severance package, including the car and everything. So, so I was deciding what I wanted to do. I really wanted to open a restaurant. But I just didn't have $2 million liquid cash laying around, to open up. Even like a Five Guys requires a stupid amount of, cash at hand. So I was working with a franchise headhunter, which I had no idea there was such a thing. And he kept talking about this carpet cleaning franchise. And I said, dude, I've never even vacuumed, let alone cleaned a carpet. He goes, no, I think, they have this product and service that everything works. Like you can look any customer in the eye and say, yep, this stuff works. And I think with your service background and with this product, you could do really well. Okay, fine. So I talked to him and ended up becoming a carpet franchisee. The week after I signed the contracts, so we were supposed to live off of my wife's salary. She was a muckety-muck with Starbucks at the time. And so we're going to live off her salary while I was growing the business. And a week before or a week after the contracts were signed, she had a cerebral aneurysm, known as an AVM, arteriovenous malformation. So blood vessel in her brain exploded. She was in the neuro ICU for 11 days. She was certainly disabled. And she's better now, just for everybody's sake.
Good.
It's not like nothing horrible happened after that. But our incomes literally went to zero overnight. I had a nice 6-figure. She had a 6-figure, and
probably minus zero, probably negative, because you were spending money to build your business, not just not earning.
This is true. Yes. Well, the credit cards were taking the brunt of that. Yeah.
But still, you were going into debt.
Of course, that led to the bankruptcy. So, I asked her. I said, we had a conversation. I said, look, I can go get another job, right? I don't know how long I'll last, but I can go get another job, at least see us through this. And she goes, no, I know what this means to you and the fact that you're not employable. So we started it, or I started it, literally at zero. So I didn't buy an existing business or anything. So, and everybody says, that time of my life or our lives was difficult. It was like 2007, 2008, right before the financial implosion. And to me, I was at zero. I couldn't go any lower. So all I knew was growth, because I got my first job, I got my second job, and just continued to build. And everybody around me is like, well, how are you getting better and we're all getting worse? I mean, I didn't let on that, I started at zero, by the way. But the growth was good. Sadly, not fast enough. So, we did the short sale on the house. I remember vividly the repo man coming out almost every night for about 2 weeks, and I had to move the car all around the neighborhood, park it in different friends' garages. We were on food stamps and energy assistance. I'm not proud of it, but as my accountant said, he goes, look, you've paid into the system for 25 years.
Yeah,
it's okay if you take a little bit out.
Of course, yes.
So financially, I was okay with the decision, but I was still uncomfortable with it.
Messes with your head.
What's that?
It messes with your head.
Oh, no doubt. And then you're embarrassed because, they give, at least here in Maryland, the card they give you is this bright yellow and orange card.
Scarlet letter.
So the minute you pull that thing out of the wallet, everybody knows that you're on food stamps. And I'm just
Wow.
like, um, and then we did the bankruptcy thing to get rid of all the credit card debt I accumulated to live on and keep the business going. So it took about 5 years to get out of that hole. But we did. And we continued to grow it, continued to add technicians and vehicles. And yeah, so that was the difficult part for Vance.
Yeah. That would be for anybody. And, you know, the systems that you utilized are stigmatized. And as your accountant pointed out, those are there for everybody, right? I mean, there is a segment of society that figured out how to, rig the game, and they take advantage of that. But that is not the majority. That's
Right.
unfortunately, that's what the press goes to. That's what Human Mind goes to. That's not Vance Morris with a wife that had an aneurysm and
Right.
starting a new business a year before the Great Recession. Right? I mean, that timing is not your forte, but certainly persistence and resilience is. So kudos for that. When you opened your own brick and mortar service business, well, first let me go back a little bit. How long did you hold? Do you still have the carpet cleaning business, or was that a? Yeah. Oh, you still have it.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Not going on. This is ending year 19, almost year 20.
I'm wondering if during the pandemic, did business go up because people were home more and they wanted their houses maintained? I know appliance sales went up, and
Yeah.
personal spending kind of went up a little bit. I'm wondering if that translated into increased business for carpet cleaning.
A little bit. We pivoted some because there were a lot of businesses out there that wanted some kind of sanitizing service.
There you
And so
go.
we had sanitized stuff anyway. The dog takes a big poop on the floor, or you
Yeah.
got
But now it's in
curry
the
odors in your
spotlight
home.
now. Yeah.
So we really pivoted to that. Actually, created a website just for the COVID services. I mean, there was no flim flam or snake oil or anything. These
Right.
were readily available chemicals we had already used. We just adapted how we applied them, and we did okay with that.
Interesting. When you opened your own brick and mortar service business, the carpet cleaning business, what surprised you most about the difference between working inside a world-class organization like Disney and owning a small business yourself?
Well, I mean, certainly the support systems were not there. I mean, the franchisor was
The 3-inch
okay.
manuals on every single subject were probably
Yeah,
missing.
those didn't exist. And the franchise did a good job training, but they were makers of chemicals and solutions. That was their thing. So they weren't good at marketing. They weren't good at pretty much any else really. Which was actually a blessing in disguise, because they left me alone to figure out how to market in my area, what made sense. At the time, yellow pages were still huge. And so I did a lot of that. So really not having the support, I think, was the biggest thing. And creating, so this is what I did at Disney, was a lot of creation. So I designed a character dining restaurant and then operated it. Designed a lot of the service aspects that the resorts and restaurants used at Disney. And that's the stuff I enjoyed. So I didn't feel like it was hard or burdensome to create and build the systems that would be my business. Now, I mean, I started late. I mean, I was already over 40 when I started. I said, my knees aren't going to take much of this. So I'm going to have, I don't want to be doing this for the rest of my life. I'll own it, but I don't want to be, sniffing out dog pee every day. So I knew that I was going to be putting in these systems. I just started building them from day one.
On that subject, many people hear Disney style service and think it means being cheerful and friendly and not pointing with your finger and all the things that we've heard about that. Yeah, but you focus heavily on systems, as Disney certainly had their systems, as we've talked about. What's the difference between good intentions and a true customer experience system?
Good intentions, that starts the process, I think. But without the system, the good intentions just fall apart. And you mentioned the smiling and the pointing and the everything. And yes, Disney is known for that. But one of the terms that I coined over the years was Disneyfy. Which in my definition is creating experiences out of the mundane. So we all have boring, mundane things we have to do. Disney's just figured out a way to create an experience out of it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I have done in my own businesses and the ones that I consult with. And if I can, I'll give you a quick example. So in our carpet cleaning business, one of the boring, mundane things we have to do is get into the house. So if we can't get in the house, we can't do our service. So we created a system and actually a theatrical performance of getting into the home. And it actually starts out in the street because we park in the street. We don't park in the driveway. God forbid I got an oil leak. Now I got something else I got to clean up. Technician gets out. He's in a clean uniform because he carries extra with him in case he gets dirty on the job beforehand. He also doesn't smell because I forbid smoking and I forbid wearing cologne. Nothing worse than the Marlboro man who just took a shower in Axe showing up in your living room. It's kind of foul. He's got his bag with him. He's got a special mat. He's got a little gift. He goes up to the front door. He lays down, a special mat. It's where we wipe our feet. We knock on the door. We don't ring the bell. Friends knock. Salespeople ring the bell. Take a couple steps back. We wait for the customer to open the door. We say, "Hi, my name's Josh. I'm here to create your healthy home. May I come in?" We don't just barge in. And then we do the little theater part of exaggeration of wiping our feet on the special mat, put little booties on our clean shoes. And as we're entering the home, we present the customer with a gift. Now, when was the last time you had a home service professional give you a gift on their way in before they have done anything? I mean, pest control, plumber, whatever. I'm going to probably hazard a guess it hasn't happened.
That's
and
amazing.
So, yeah, and we do it. Actually, it was one of my employees' ideas. He goes, I was at a party last week, went to a friend's house, and I brought a 6-pack of beer and 3 dozen wings. And he was like, we go to somebody's house, 3-4 times a day. We don't bring them anything. And that's how the little gift idea was born, actually, from one of my employees. And the gift actually does a couple of things. One, it separates us from everybody else out there. I mean, there's nobody doing this. They don't copy it for whatever reason. My competitors know what I'm doing. The other thing is it starts reciprocity, right? I give something to you, you feel compelled to give something back to me. So when we implemented the gift, we saw about a 26% increase in our mid-tier package, or about $65,000, $70,000 in additional sales every year just by implementing that gift.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. That certainly is a combination of Disney and human behavior psychology. I mean, I'm that way. When we have contractors that come to the house for whatever reason, I tend to sum them up in the first minute. And the first minute determines how the rest of the day is going to go, at least in my mind, right?
Yes, 100%.
And if someone bonds with me, or if I bond with them in the first minute or two, I feel really good about them. I'm already thinking about how I'm going to recommend them to my friends. And I put way too much thought into it, but that's the way I'm wired. And the opposite is true. If someone comes, they might have nothing. This might not have anything to do with their competency or their price. But if I just don't feel that connection, I just can't wait for it to be over. And then, I don't really give them a second thought. But there's something about good service, whether it's a young kid that came to wash my car, that's starting, a little side hustle out of college. Once I connect with them, I root for them. I kind of join their tribe, right? And if I were one of your customers with that experience, I would look forward to when my dog pees on the carpet, and I'm like, I get to call Vance. Yeah, I'm going to get a little
Yeah,
gift.
right.
I wouldn't do it for the gift, but the relationship is there, and that is priceless. For a small business without a Disney-sized budget, what's maybe one customer touch point that should be improved first? How do you eat the elephant? I know
Well, I
one
mean,
bite at a time. What would that bite be?
yeah, I mean, and you touched on it, and it's something that I call moment zero, and it's that first interaction that you have with an employee of the company or the website or whatever. And I think that the first thing every business owner should do, the small business owner, well, actually any business, but in this case, small ones, answer your phone live. That's
Right.
your sales are going to go through the roof if you answer the phone live. I'm a partner in a call center. We surveyed 4,500 home service businesses. We got their phone number from Google. So these are companies that are paying to have the phone number out there, so the pay-per-click kind of stuff. 16% answered the phone live.
Wow.
16%. It's like, I don't know, 300 out of 4,500. If you think about it, send me the money because I'll spend it better than you guys are. If you're looking for a plumber and you hit the first one on the list on your Google page and they don't answer the phone or it goes to voicemail, you're going to the next one, and you go until somebody answers the phone. Because trust me, returning a phone call at the end of the day, you have lost that customer. And it also in this day and age of AI, you now have the authenticity play. You have a real person answering the phone. And if you insist on having a machine do it, well, option one better be connect me to a live person. Because if
Yeah.
I got to wait to option 19 and I got to listen
Yeah.
to the first 18 options, I'm hanging up and I'm irritated. And irritated people don't buy. So that is about the easiest, low, no cost thing you could possibly do for your business is answer the phone live.
I can't tell you how many times it's an oxymoron to hear, and we've all heard it 1,000 times. Your call is important to us. Please leave a
Yeah.
message. And I say out loud, because I have this theory that maybe someone is, they say everything's going to be recorded. I'm wondering if they're listening to me while their attendant is speaking. And I assume they are, even though they're probably not. So I will say, when they say, your call is very important to us, please leave a message. And I'll say, before the beep, if it was really important, you would answer the phone. And then, of course, for Spanish, hit this, for,
Yep.
Swahili, hit that, for French, hit that. It's like, human, please.
Yep.
And the worst now are these
They're getting
AI
harder and
agents.
harder to find.
Yeah, well, the worst are these AI agents that sound human, and then you realize after a short time they're not human. They are not human. You talk about creating customer moments that actually matter. The wiping the shoes, the clean uniforms, the gift. Obviously, those are moments that matter. What makes customer moments memorable instead of ordinary? What do you think that is? That standout thing? How does that land on a customer? I'm sure Disney
Well, I think
put a science to that, right?
yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it does start with the employee. I hire for attitude. I don't hire for aptitude. I can teach you to do anything, and that Disney does the same. They hire for those, what do they call them, soft skills. Okay, fine. I call it. It's just a heart for service. They truly want to, serve others, not servitude or
Right.
servant, but they truly want to help people by providing
Right.
whatever service or product that we're doing. So that's certainly number one, is getting the right employee in your business. The rest of it is what is important to you and what is important to your customer? What are you going to plant your flag, fall on your sword, pick your idiom there? But what's important to you? For us, we came up with healthy homes, right? So our employees can wrap their brains around our mission. Our mission is to create healthy homes. And if you heard me in the introduction, or the getting into the home story, that's what we say. We're here to create your healthy home. We do it by cleaning, but we want to create a healthier home. So any minimum wage employee can wrap their little brain around that. And I think having a strong mission also creates that. I mean, Disney's got a mission. It's we create happiness.
Yeah.
That's it. Any minimum wage person can wrap their brain around happiness and memories. And we also have to create an emotional connection. You mentioned, when you have a service person come into your home and, within the first minute, you're like, oh yeah, I really like this guy. Or can't wait till you leave.
Yeah.
We need to continue that emotional connection well past the initial service or purchase of product, because that's how we get them back. If we don't create an emotional connection, right, they are now susceptible to everybody else's coupons and offers and price changes and everything like that. But if we've got an emotional connection, like you said, I'm rooting for you. Now we've got customers that are going to come back again and again.
Yeah, that makes sense. In addition to actually answering a phone, what are some common customer experience mistakes small businesses make without even realizing it?
Well, the word policy should be stricken from everybody's vocabulary.
It's our policy.
That's just our policy.
Yeah.
Oh, no, God, please just get rid of that phrase completely, because nobody wants to hear that. It's our policy. Well, it's a dumb policy. You should probably fix it. And so taking every complaint, if you will, as a learning opportunity, and a way to get better. Some people just take the complaint and, okay, fine, we don't care. Give me the 2-star review. I don't care. But if you really if you're playing the long game, what you do for customer satisfaction and service recovery, says a lot about you. And I think that, again, there is, can there be a problem? You solve the problem, and the experience is so much better than if the problem never had occurred. Right? I mean, it's your moment to come out shining. Oh my God, we screwed up. I'm so sorry. Here, let me do this, this, and this. And now all of a sudden you're the hero instead of, the schlub who did something wrong. For my technicians, they know if they're running late to the next appointment, one, obviously they call our office, and the office will call the customer and say, hey, sorry, big job, we're running late. The technician will call and say, hey, I'm leaving my current job. I'm on my way. I'll be there in 20 minutes. And then he is required to stop at a grocery store or someplace and buy some flowers. And then you show up at the front door with a little bouquet of flowers. Now, who can get, you're late. So who can yell at a 23-year-old guy standing there with a bouquet of flowers on your front door? You just can't yell at him, I'm sorry we're late. Here's some flowers for your home. People, they're like, oh, okay, come on in. I like to say it works 100% of the time. It
disarms them. It disarms a customer that would otherwise 100%. Be angry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant.
And so now people are talking. So this also all leads into your marketing, because if you want word of mouth marketing, you want people to talk about you. You want your business to be tellable. Well, you got to give people things to talk about.
Right. Beyond showing up with a machine. Beyond just taking a stain out.
Exactly.
Right?
I mean, at the end of any interaction, you want people saying, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened when, and insert your profession there. Oh my God, you'll never guess what happened when a carpet cleaner showed up today. He was running a few minutes late and he gave me flowers. My husband doesn't give me flowers, so.
Well, that's a good point, because if you just showed up and did the job, nothing else, no one's going to say, guess what happened? The carpet cleaner came and they cleaned my carpet. Duh, that's expected. That's not extraordinary. But when you do things that are unexpected, that's where the story is. That's the only reason someone would talk about you, right? Otherwise, yeah, they clean the carpet, which is why they're called carpet cleaners. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff to talk about at that point. When I was doing my research on you, I watched the video you created titled Customer Loyalty Predictions for 2026. This is 2026, so I'm not going to be able to fact check you to see if these predictions came true until maybe next year. And we don't have, an endless amount of time, but can you kind of go through some of the predictions that you have made and just kind of give me a summary of that?
Yeah, well, I think the big one, again, is the reliance on AI. Certainly that is authority and authenticity are the new currency. And I think, if you summarize all of those and you mash it into, one overarching topic, it is authenticity and authority. And those are going to be the driving forces going forward. And without that authenticity, you're in the unwashed masses. Again, going back to the security guard at the birth control factory, okay, so maybe you don't have that. Fine. Well, are you known for fishing or knitting or something? What can you do that is really going to bring out the authenticity of your company and of course your authority, but you got to be authentic to who you are. And in small businesses, because most of us are serving in a town or in a city, so we're not going nationwide or worldwide. We've got to have that, and I really think that portraying that, and we talked about emotional connection. Like one of the things I use for maintaining emotional connections is I shamelessly use my children in my marketing. So I do a monthly newsletter, and as the kids were growing, they're all grown now, so I got to figure out something else. But
not as
my
cute
daughter
anymore, right? Not as cute anymore in an ad.
Yeah. So my daughter, she did ballet when she was 5 years old, took a picture of her in her tutu and put it in a newsletter. And then I did that for every year until she was like, I don't know, 12 or 13 when she stopped doing it. And we were in the grocery store. I think she was probably like 10. And this lady came running up to us. Actually, she came running up to my daughter. She goes, "Oh my God, Emma, how was your recital?" And we're just like freaked out and ready to go hide in the frozen food section. And I had to think, wait a minute. She is one of our customers. She has watched my children grow up.
Wow.
She's never leaving me. She's either going to have to move or die before she stops using my business.
Right.
And so it's that emotional connection, that authenticity to who I am that people resonate with. And I think that, 2026 and going forward, having that authenticity is what's going to really drive the business.
Yeah. I call that concept conscious marketing, which is where instead of talking about your business, you could spend all your marketing dollars and energy talking about the power of your vacuum and the bristles that are on the brush and the chemical, constituents and all this stuff. That's important, but does not create an emotional connection. If you can create an emotional connection, people don't just use your service, they join your tribe. And I've talked about this on the show many times. One poster child example is Nike, the shoe company. They have, to the best of my knowledge, never run an ad talking about their shoe, the comfort, the sole support, the design, the arch support, the whatever, the soles, the grippiness, the treads. What do they show? They show athletes. They celebrate athleticism. They make a connection there. And it's interesting that sometimes the best way to sell more product is stop talking about your product. Come up with some type of an emotional connection and provide value based on that. your value is you clean their carpet, but really you provide a healthy home, right? Or a
Right.
healthier home. That is what you are selling. Carpet cleaning is the mechanism by which you can sell that. And I think, taking a pea stain out is not, that's not the anchor that's going to cause people to join the tribe.
Certainly not.
Healthy homes, in your case, that's the anchor that people will resonate with. So that is brilliant right there. In addition to cleaning carpets and creating healthy homes, how do you talk a lot about business. You have an ongoing effort to help other business owners. How does that get facilitated? You have a separate company that
Yep.
does this stuff. You give speeches. You provide coaching services. Tell me more about that side of the business.
Sure. Yeah. So, like I said, I could be just sitting around drinking beer, eating bonbons, but, I do this selfishly because I'm really tired of going places and getting crappy service for, or a crappy experience. And so, yeah, I've taken everything that I've learned from Disney and how I've applied it in my own. I have 3 home service businesses now. So we added an Oriental rug washing facility and a mold remediation company to the mix. So we got those 3 running, and it is all stuff that I have proven to work in a carpet cleaning business. And I should have this tattooed. If a carpet cleaner can do it, there isn't anybody on this planet that can't do it. Because we're not exactly held in high regard. Plumbers and electricians are well above us. We're kind of down a little lower.
Lower on the food
2020
chain.
did an expose on us, actually, back in the 90s.
On the industry?
Check it out. On
the
carpet
industry?
cleaning. Yeah, how we steal the change from your sofa and drink the milk out of the carton while you're not looking, that kind of thing.
Wow.
But yeah, so I've got everything from a do-it-yourself coaching program where I'll give you the frameworks of things that has proven to work, through masterminds. So if you're more advanced and you're ready to be around other business owners that are high performing, masterminds are great. Even if you don't join mine, find essentially a peer group of people that are going to tell it to you straight, not sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
The feedback there is just invaluable. One of the fun things I get to do is I take business groups down to Disney for 3 and 4 day full immersion boot camps. So we spend half the day in the classroom, half the day in the theme parks. We kind of see how Disney makes the sausage. And then my job essentially is showing you how to adapt what Disney is doing into being a banker or a home inspector or real estate agent or whatever you are. Because there are parallels. You can't copy them because, unless you own a roller coaster or a theme park, you don't want to copy what Disney's
But the
doing.
concept behind
But you can
it.
certainly adapt.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What's the name of the company that you provide these valuable business
It's
advice?
Deliver Service Now Institute. So if you make an acronym out of it, it spells Disney, DSNI.
Wow,
I worked
that's
hard on
clever. I didn't catch that one right away. That's very
Yeah,
good.
no, I usually have to explain it, so don't worry about it.
And do you have a podcast? Or I can't remember if this is your podcast that I saw you on, or you were a guest on someone else's podcast. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah. I have a YouTube channel. I am a poor podcaster. I seem to be a professional podcast guest. I just can't keep up with it. I applaud you for yours because I did mine in fits and starts. But I found that doing I do a weekly blog that I am very consistent with. Been doing it for years now. And recently I've been turning those blogs into little mini videos.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff has served me well. I applaud you for the podcast, though.
Oh, thank you. And last question, Vance. How did you define success when you first started your business, and how do you define it today?
Well, I knew that the measure of success was going to be similar to what we've already talked about, is to freely come and go to my businesses and not have any impact on them whatsoever. So essentially, they didn't need me to continue to produce money and to grow. And that was my goal back then, was to be able to come and go as I please. And that's the actuality right now. I come and go as I please. I spend 90 minutes now. Will tell you, I spend 90 minutes a week on those 3 home service businesses. I spend an hour in a meeting with the general manager, and I spend 30 minutes on the checkbook. I don't let go of credit cards or banking or anything like that. I keep my thumb heavily in that.
Well, that's sage advice. Well, Vance Morris, thank you for sharing your journey with me quite openly and candidly. I appreciate that. I'm sure my audience will. There's probably members of my audience that are right where you were and are contemplating what to do. And I'm sure that the fact that you came out the other side and kind of just sucked it up and did what you had to do will be inspiring to those who are in that position right now. And for my audience who'd like to get more information, both on the carpet cleaning business and the multitude, the whole Vance Morris empire, including the coaching mastermind stuff and all that, I'll have links to those businesses in the show notes. So if you're watching this on YouTube, right down here where it says see more, that's where it'll be. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, don't do it while you're driving. We need to keep all the subscribers we have on this side of the dirt. When it's safe to do so, look at that podcast app and that information will be there as well. Vance, thanks so much for sharing your journey with me. I really appreciate it. You're quite inspiring. And I wish you continued success in your journey.
Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on, Mike. I love being able to share my story, and you're a great host. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, here are some final thoughts. My conversation with Vance is a reminder that entrepreneurship rarely follows a straight line. His journey moved from Disney management to bankruptcy, from starting over to building a business, and from learning world-class customer service systems to adapting those systems for small business owners who do not have massive budgets or global brands behind them. What stands out most is that great customer experience is not magic. It is not simply telling employees to be nicer, smile more, or go the extra mile. It's built through intentional systems, consistent processes, and a clear understanding of the moments that matter most to customers. For reluctant entrepreneurs, Vance's story is especially meaningful. He didn't arrive at business ownership with everything figured out. He learned through setbacks, practical experience, and the reality of having to make things work in the real world. His message is encouraging because it shows that even after failure, a business can be rebuilt with discipline, humility, and a willingness to serve customers better than the competition. The takeaway is really simple. Small businesses may not have Disney's budget, but they can still think carefully about the customer experience. They can still create memorable moments. They can still build systems that make people feel valued. And in many cases, that may be the difference between just being another business and becoming the business customers remember, return to, and recommend. Now, that's a wrap. Thanks for being part of our Reluctant Entrepreneur family. We've been very busy recording future episodes with fascinating guests, so be sure to subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop. If you're an entrepreneur or know someone who would make a great guest, we'd love to hear from you. Visit reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com, where you can apply or recommend a guest, or just learn more about the show. And a couple of shameless plugs. I've started a new series under the Reluctant Entrepreneur brand. The new series is called Reluctant Lessons, where businesses went wrong. On this series, we dig into high-profile business failures and the story behind it all. So far, we've profiled numerous companies, including Rubbermaid, Kodak, Blockbuster, BlackBerry, Toys R Us, DeLorean Motor Company, and others, with many more to come. Check them out on this channel. And if you're interested in my book, The Reluctant Entrepreneur, Anatomy of a Business Startup from Uncertainty to Unstoppable, it's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon and as an audiobook on both Audible and Amazon. And to everyone listening or watching, if you find yourself stepping into entrepreneurship, whether by choice or by circumstance, remember this. Sometimes the path we never planned becomes the journey we were meant to take. Thanks so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. I'll see you again soon.